Thanks. First of all, everybody can see the screen, correct? Excelente. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of a Friday to join. Depending on your time zone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I know there's a wide array of people from around the world, which I consider a huge compliment. So thanks for taking time out for me and the A Greener Space Builds team. Um, I'm Anjanette Green. I am the owner of A Greener Space Builds, and it is a new endeavor for me. So I'm very excited to go down this path with y'all today. Um, I'm just going to quickly kind of bullet what I'm going to go over today, and hopefully there's enough time for some hearty Q&A at the end of this, so I'm going to stay on track. But I want to introduce my new developer firm. This is a new thing for me. I'm very excited about it, but it's also a little bit terrifying. So give me a little bit of grace as I do this. I'm going to talk about why I created it. I'll be introducing our first building project and the team that's supporting it. A little bit of background and context as to why I think it's really important to do this. We'll be looking at the region of the first build, which is nearby Tulum. I'll show some early concepts and some designs of the project, talk about the various ways that you can support and get involved, and details about the learning intensive program, which I think is probably the most exciting part of what we're doing, and how you can register for that, and talk a little bit about the next online session, which I'm hoping is going to be a lot more engaging than this one today. I'm going over a lot of nuts and bolts. So this is going to be sort of like the perfunctory background, whereas our future presentations are going to feature the instructors. So with that, a couple of things I want to say before I dive into a lot of text on the slide. I'm doing everything that I've always told my fellow teammates never do. Don't put a lot of text on the screen. People will read it and they won't listen to what you're saying. I'm doing this very intentionally. Yes, there's going to be a lot of text on the screen today because I have a lot to say, and I'd like to think that it's important to say it. I don't want to go off script too much. If you are a reader, great. Read along with me. There's pretty pictures as well. But I'm doing this because we are recording this as well as we have a lot of friends on the call today whose English is a second language. So I really want to honor the fact that in order to be very clear and for comprehension's sake, I'm having both audio and the text on the slide. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. Um, A Greener Space Builds. It's my new developer LLC. And I did this because I really felt like the industry is relying way too much on carbon intensive construction. And very few people are taking the risks that I think we need to take in this world to have a better future of building. So my goal is to broadly expand the adoption of bio-based, mineral-based, and low-carbon materials. And I really want this to set a precedent for other people to follow. I kind of feel like somebody needs to stick their neck out and do this. Otherwise, we're just going to keep regurgitating these high fossil fuel projects into the future. We are a model of financial independence. We are not a charity. We are not a nonprofit. So we are trying to establish a financial gain. We are a business. And again, that goes along with trying to dismantle a lot of these biases that go along with bio-based builds. People immediately think that we're a nonprofit and that we're going to get grants and our money is going to come because we're a charity. No, no. This is a money-making endeavor, and I really want that to be clear because we want to support and contribute to a local economy. Okay, so why now? I've spent my entire life consulting for other people, from mom and pop shops to Fortune 500 companies. I've studied materials. I've analyzed ingredients. I've been up and down supply chains for every kind of make and model that you can imagine. People don't often listen to my advice, and that gets very disheartening. When I've spent my entire career trying to help other people, I sort of felt like it was time for me to put the mantle of being a developer on and to start doing more. I was getting tired of consulting from a desk. And I know as a lot of architects and designers, we get really frustrated because we feel like what we do is just sit at a desk and we design from a screen. And I really wanted to make things happen by getting my hands dirty. So I got tired of trying to make change happen sitting behind a desk. And if you feel like me, you are in the right place because we're going to try to make things happen. The other thing is I love materials. I love materials so much that I geek out over them. And I took about the last 3 years of my life to travel around the world with a concerted effort to learn as much as I could about bio-based and mineral-based materials. This is an area where I feel deeply concerned. We have not innovated the world of bio-based materials nearly enough. And our fossil fuel partner materials are eclipsing where bio-based materials really should be. So as much as I have studied the fossil fuel and the polymers and the plastics in the world, I have also spent the last 3 years looking at bio-based materials, studying 33 different manufacturers, 21 countries, uh, 3 different continents, and it was the joy of my life. Once I started doing this, there was no turning back for me. There's so much potential in bio-based materials, and if these slides excite you, like, trust me, there's so much more. And along the way, I met some really incredible people who are now part of this team. And this is just a slide to show you some of the incredible people. Laurel, you've seen who's manning the calls and the chats today. Thank you so much for your efforts. We've got Miguel Vasquez, Eduardo Barba, Bob Green, who is my father, is our structural engineer. Santiago, thank you for joining. Ashley as well. If you would like to join us, and Roberto, who's currently in Nicaragua, if you would like to be part of the team, please let me know. There is room for plenty more. We have a million different roles that you could play, and you are welcome. So please let us know. If this is something that you would like to contribute to, we'd love to hear from you. We also have partners who are helping us in many other ways, and here's just a few. I'm incredibly gracious for the folks who have decided to clamor on to this party that we're having, from everything from energy modeling to helping us with our water design. We have a lot of folks to thank. We are still actively looking for more partners, and we just want to admit that this is not something that we can do alone, nor do we want to do alone. So if you have something you would like to contribute to the project after you listen today, please don't hesitate to look us up. Okay, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the doom and gloom aspects of why we're doing what we're doing, but if I didn't acknowledge it, I think it would be remiss of me because we have some big current problems in the world. I have given so many talks and so many presentations about the things that we're doing wrong that it's started to sort of make me feel very depressed. So I want to stay away from the doom and gloom. But if anybody's familiar with the 9 boundaries, the planetary boundaries, this was a study that was put out not too long ago that talks about the boundaries that the planet, if crossed, will have a very hard time recuperating, and it will no longer be able to support human habitat and life as we know it. So it's sad because of this study, the 9 boundaries that we have, 7 have currently been crossed, and climate change is one of them. So if you would like to know more about that study, I encourage you to go and look at it. But again, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too far. I want to focus on the good that we can do to reverse that. The other piece, of course, is global emissions. And I feel very responsible, for acknowledging this because as an architect, designers, we're responsible for a gargantuan amount of CO2 emissions, and we need to do better. So these are some current problems that we need to address. And we also have a problem with a business as usual model that smacks in the face of trying to do things differently. And this is not just in the United States, it's across all geographies. The business as usual model is that construction and building relies really heavily on fossil fuels. That should come as no surprise to any of you. But what happens is in the making of these products and the types of this construction, it really disproportionately is impacting low income and BIPOC communities. And again, across the world, not just in the United States. This is a big deal. It causes us to be very dependent on plastics and other products that we really should be phasing out. And just, as I was putting this slideshow together a few weeks ago, April 17th, the New York Times breaking news is showing our Supreme Court in the United States deciding with oil companies and leaving a place like Louisiana to figure out how to clean up the mess that was made. This is not a new headline at all, but I just found it very fitting in the case where I'm creating this presentation. And lo and behold, this is the type of news that we get, where these powerful commercial industries are really considering profit over people. I really want to upend that and change the script. The truth is that for too long, we've been told as an entire entity of designers and architects that there is no other way to build. I have sat in rooms where people have told me outright, there's no other way, there's no alternative. And a lot of you on this call and a lot of people that I have spoken to disagree with that. And we have been building structures and working with these materials that are regenerative and work with the environment instead of against it. And we have examples that go back for millennia. So when you look at the grand time scale of building as a humankind, the fossil fuel and the plastic building is a blip on the screen. We have so many other examples. So I refuse to believe that with innovation and more support, we can't change the trajectory of building for the future. So the unfortunate truth, however, is that a lot of those builders and the people who had the wisdom and the knowledge have been lost to time. They have been eclipsed. So we need to actually have a new generation of builders, and we need to teach one another how do we actually build better. The alternative is where a greener space build hopefully comes in and lends a hand. We want to have a different model. We want to have scalable and replicable business models that trains professionals in the field to become expert at bio-based construction, and then they can go on and teach others. They can start their own business, they can do a train the trainer program, but we basically need to scale this in a way that people understand you're supported and that we want you to succeed. This design build residency that I'll talk about is going to give you that opportunity to do that. And we would like people to come from around the world to all of our builds when it's convenient for you so that we can learn from one another. What this will do, hopefully, is it's going to help us with these data gaps. The contemporary building stock that we have doesn't have enough bio-based buildings for us to understand and learn from. They don't have a lot of scientific studies. We're kind of getting there, but it's too slow and there's not enough. So for the handful of those projects that do exist, a lot of the teams are bootstrap teams. They don't have a lot of funds. They don't have a lot of support. So they don't have the information that tracks through conception to post-construction of the design. So that's a huge opportunity of data that gets missed. Everything from thermal and structural, all of the, how much time does it take? What were the cost issues? These data caps really need to be filled because they're impeding our ability to study these materials, and it's creating a perpetual uneven playing field where bio-based materials, they might be suggested, but then they get value engineered out very quickly because they haven't advanced at the same rate as our fossil fuel-based counterparts. And I want to say something about these two images that you've seen here. And also here, I want to give hats off and credit where credit is due to Santiago and to Eddie, who had a great part in this project that's outside of Puerto Escondido. If you'd like to learn more about that, make sure you stay tuned for their online sessions coming up. Okay, so testing and analytics and experts for the Macario project, it's going to serve as a data collection and case study. I'm calling it a living lab, not to tire that phrase out. We've used that before, but it really is going to be an opportunity to turn this into a laboratory of learning. We are actively looking for collaborators. I would love to see somebody who wants to experiment with whole building LCA. Anybody who's interested in dynamic carbon calculations, if you know what that is a new and upcoming way of understanding how to calculate carbon in bio and mineral-based projects. Energy modeling, thermal testing, any other performance disciplines that you're interested in, please, we'd love to have you collaborate with us. Okay, what are we building? This is the exciting part. We are building a residence. The Macario project is going to be about 2,000 square feet. It's going to be a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom structure with a open air communal dining area, full kitchen, natural pools and water systems that work in harmony with the land. It will be 100% off grid. So it's going to support its own energy. It's going to have all of its water coming from a well that will be cleaned without chemicals. We're going to have a biodigester, natural infiltration. This whole building will be running on its own energy of its own design, and we really want to make sure that that sets a good example for others to follow. So it's important that we have the technical capabilities, not just the bio-based materials. We're going to showcase as many innovative materials as we can. I'll come back to that point in just a moment because this is an important sort of detail that I'd like to explore with y'all. There's also going to be a pavilion, a separate structure. This will be an open air bamboo structure that is going to be a place for quiet respite or for gatherings or other community retreats or other learning sessions. If you have a dream of teaching a yoga class in a beautiful pavilion in the middle of the jungle, this is for you. But both the residence and the pavilion are really meant to be rentable properties after the build is complete. And that again is part of the revenue stream to show that these builds can have a passive income. The other is I really think there's a missed opportunity for people who have never experienced what it's like to be in a bio-based building before. We want this whole center to be a learning opportunity. You can come and stay and see what it's like to be among walls that are made of earth. You can understand how it feels, how it smells. Some people have never even used a composting toilet before. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be learned to help educate one another with these structures, so that when people leave, they have a better understanding and can educate other people and say, yeah, I stayed in this really cool bio-based off-grid. It was amazing. You can't believe how peaceful it was. And we want that kind of self-promotion to happen. So a lot of people, when they travel, the destination is the point. I want the Macario project to be one of those destination points. All right, so speaking of a destination point, where we're going to be building is incredibly important for this first build. If you're familiar with the region of Quintana Roo, that's in Mexico, it's that red portion of the slide that's in the key on the left. But the yellow star is where Macario is, which is about 21 kilometers from the coast, which is where Tulum is located. So if you're familiar with the Quintana Roo or the Yucatan area, we're just off of the crystal clear waters of the sea there, and it's absolutely stunning. I'll show you some photos of what the area is like in a moment. But first, I want to go a little bit backwards before I can go forwards because being a resident of Tulum for the last couple of years, since 2019, I've seen Tulum change drastically. And I'm focusing on Tulum for a second here because as a warning. Macario is just based 21 kilometers to the slightly north west of this. And if anybody is familiar with Tulum, which I think most of us have heard about it, it became the Instagram darling of COVID. Everybody went there. The problem with that is that the area has suffered intense habitat destruction because a small fishing village that was really only intended for about 7,000 people saw a massive explosion of development and is supporting almost 2 million tourists. That is a big problem. I'm going to show you this slide here where you can see the changes that occur over the course of the last couple of decades. You can see the encroachment of development going all the way up into the area that once was the jungle. Just so you can see that again, as it's worth watching and appreciating that spread that goes out. Seeing those extra roads and the development and the destruction of that jungle was heartbreaking. It's still heartbreaking. So what I'm trying to say is that the area did not have the infrastructure and it did not have conscientious architects and developers going in and treating the land the way it needed to be treated. It doesn't have proper recycling. It doesn't have proper infrastructure for the waste. This is a giant mound of waste that you can see from aerial shots. The problem is the land in this area is largely limestone. And when you have big heaps of garbage like this, and you have a lack of regulation and a lot of the construction where they're not connected to proper plumbing, that leachate and all of that wastewater just is openly being deposited down into the areas it's going into the water table. The water table in the cenotes in Tulum are one of the most pristine and beautiful features. It's why people go there. It's connected to the Mesoamerican Reef, which is the largest barrier reef in the Western Hemisphere. It is incredibly important for the habitat. And the destruction of this area is creeping out into other areas that are nearby. And now these regions and areas that the Mayans used to, they used to build these structures in reverence of the cenotes are becoming too polluted with human waste to swim in. So I am very concerned. Again, I want to make sure that this doesn't happen to Macario or any other place in the world that is seeing massive development. When I originally purchased the land in Macario, I didn't want to develop it at all. I saw what happened to Tulum and I just wanted to have the land preserved. I wanted to keep it jungle. I didn't want to touch it or cut down a tree or anything. The problem is that Macario is being developed whether we like it or not. We have neighbors, we have friends who are building in that area, and if we don't set a good precedent, and if we don't show people another way, they're going to fall back on these habits that are going to continue to destroy the land. So this slide shows from 2005, 2020, and 2025 the changes that have happened already to Macario. So I want this to be an example for Macario and for other places as well. Okay, enough of the doom and gloom. Let's talk about some fun stuff. All right, so the property is a sliver of land that's about 1,250 square meters, or if you're imperial, it's 13,000 and change, which is about a third of an acre. And you can see that little red sliver of the slot D6. Now, the cool thing about this land, well, there's many cool things, but I have great neighbors. A lot of the people on the call today are my neighbors, and we are all in the bio-based building construction enterprise. So we have a lot of community and we have a lot of shared enthusiasm for what we're going to do. Now, if you see these plots in blue, they are still available. So if you want to become a neighbor, I mean, I'm not selling the land, but I can connect you with the people who are. If you want to experiment with this and be one of our neighbors, let's make it a community. Let's make it a party. There's still a lot of space left. You'll see at the bottom there the Koba Tulum Highway. So this is set back quite a distance from the highway, which is why it's so peaceful and so lovely with the jungle around us. And some early massing ideas, just to throw it out there so you know what we're trying to do here, is largely I'm trying to leave 50% of the land untouched. I really am trying to preserve that so that we don't disturb it. So that 2,000 square foot footprint of the build, as well as the pavilion, we're trying to cushion that and make it like a little donut that's cushioned with the rest of the habitat around it. I will not cut down a tree or mess with a plant unless I absolutely have to. That's part of the process. Okay, what does the region feel like? This is like, if you haven't been, you're in for a treat because it is the most magical place. There are fantastic places in Mexico as well as around the world. Macario is a little gem. I spent days there in an off-grid structure, waking up every morning to hearing birds, looking up at a canopy of trees, natural like habitat and fruits and vegetables abound. I mean, it's just a crazy beautiful place. So that papaya in the corner there is from the Macario land. I mean, it's just magical. I can't stress enough how beautiful and worthwhile it is to preserve. This is why we need to start building in a way that doesn't disrupt all of this beauty. So I have to throw in a couple of slides that talk about early concepts, mainly just to show my sort of intent and the aesthetic. I want this to showcase the materials. So the walls are very important. We're largely looking at expanses of walls for a single story structure that are going to showcase these materials. A lot of open, airy spaces where people can pass, where some of the circulation is going to be indoor, outdoor, outdoor, indoor. I want to see some really cool phases of programmatic exploration. But the footprint again is going to be small. Not a tiny home, but respectable. A lot of the outdoor and pavilion areas or walkways are going to have a little bit more of an organic and open feel because I want people, again, to be very in tuned with the habitat. Um, the build is a little bit different than what some people might be accustomed to. Um, and I don't want to sound too mythical when I talk about this, but I am allowing the land to tell me what it wants to be built, not the other way around. Most developers will design a building of their own design and they'll plop it down forcibly into the region with a lot of ego and hubris and all the things attached to being a developer, a designer. I am not going to do that. I'm going to let the local resources tell me what is feasible to build and what the land wants, taking cues very much from the resources and from what the Mayans did. This area is known for karst geography. It's limestone, which was used throughout Mayan builds. The Mayan ruins used it all the time. So we are probably going to be taking cues from a lot of limestone and probably some sascal, which is a way of using the limestone to use as mortar and fillers in a type of cement. Because it's highly vegetated, the soil layer is really thick and really dense with a lot of composed vegetation. So it's not a lot of mineral content, but a very sort of dense organic mix. But we, like everywhere else in the world, have massive waste streams of organic waste that comes from agriculture. So the mezcal industry, the tequila industry produces mountains of byproducts, the bagasse, the fibers. We would like to do an assessment to figure out how we can take some of that and put it into the building products. Um, if anybody has gone to the beach and experienced the sargazo, which is the seaweed that comes in, there's mounds of it. It's very unpredictable as to when it comes because it's a result of global warming, warming up the ocean waters, and it's growing in gargantuan swells and it comes into shore. If you've seen it and you've smelled it, you know what it's like. It's not great. And the methane that it produces is really bad for the environment and contributes to global warming. So there are people who are working with ways of taking the sargazo and putting it into bricks and different ways of building with it. We'd like to explore with that. And also coconut fiber, just to name a few. There are many, many more. We're also extremely fortunate to have Ashley Javogue on our team, who is hailing from Costa Rica and is an expert in taking agricultural waste and turning it into blocks and panels as well as plaster. Ashley is an amazing woman who has done so much for the industry in Costa Rica. She works predominantly in the sugarcane industry, and she's agreed to help us out with doing some exercises for Macario. So hats off to her and look forward to her session in the coming weeks. Okay, so let's get down to how you can get involved. I've highlighted for the professional for a reason. I'm going to come back to that in a second. That's the all-inclusive design build programs. But there's also other avenues. For the academic, if you want to go into data collection and case studies and you want to research something, let us be your lab. In return for you getting some really great data, we would very much like to work with you so that we can showcase one another in white papers and case studies. Let us know. Working with academia and universities would be incredibly beneficial for us. For the manufacturer, time and time again, I have so many manufacturers who say, I've got this great product, but nobody wants to try it. Great. Let's do this. You know, if you want to try it out for performance testing, for whatever you have, new product, old product, let us know. We would love to do some cross promotion and cross branding. We'd help one another out in that capacity. If you want to donate a biodigester, hey, I'm all ears. And then for the retreat organizer, this is somebody who wants to enjoy the space after it's built. If you, for example, want to teach a health and wellness class, or you're a yoga instructor and you want to come and teach it, we would love to have you. In return for that investment, we'll give you access to the property, and we could talk about what that looks like. So let's go back to for the professional in just a second, because as I mentioned, we are a for-profit. So gift contributions would go a very long way to help us. We are not a charity, but you can still give us gifts. There is an active button on the website at A Greener Space Builds where you can give any amount. I don't care if it's $1 or $1,000. Your funds would go a long way to helping us with business supplies, the site excavation, the topography studies that we need. There is a long list of things that we need help with. But as I said, we are a team of collaborators, of like-minded people. We cannot do this alone. We really need some help to get this off the ground. So anything that you can give would be much appreciated. Okay, let's go back to the fun stuff, which is our on-site learning intensives, and talk about this a little bit. Um, I love this quote because I think that it's true for me. Hopefully, it's true for you. Building with bio-based materials, it's an act in sustainability, but working with people is a lesson in humanity. Couldn't agree more. There's something very satisfying about stepping away from something at the end of the day and looking at it and saying, gosh, I did that. I built that. Our design build residencies are going to be that to that effect. They're going to be all inclusive. You will be able to concentrate on the build. We'll take care of the accommodations for you. You can do a 1 week, a 2 week, a 3 week, a 4 week package, whatever works for you for however long you would like to stay. They're going to give you support from the instructors so that you can focus on the builds, you can truly learn. And we're going to cap it at about 15 participants to ensure that you get really good quality learning and so that we don't disrupt the land. It's really important that we're good stewards of the land and we don't have too many people on it. And we want to have a good quality build at the end of this. So how you register, you go to A Greener Space Builds. It's the new website. It's active, it's live. Click around, take a look at it. Sign up for the newsletter because that's how you're going to stay in tune with everything that's happening and you'll be able to know when registration is officially open. Right now, you can sign up the early bird registration and get a 10% discount code that you can apply when the registration is officially open, but that is limited. So both discount code and the space in the modules is limited. So there's the website. Please go, please visit. What's included? It's on-site personal instruction from the team that we will be introducing over the subsequent months. If you're interested in bamboo, you're going to be hearing from Miguel. If you're interested in rammed earth, you're going to be hearing from Santiago and from Eddie. If you're interested in agricultural waste to turn into plasters and panels, you're going to be hearing from Ashley, just to name a few of our instructors. There's plenty more coming. Shared rooms, but individual beds. Meals will be provided for the work week. We'll have a shuttle that takes you to and from the job site. So no, you're not going to be sleeping on the job site in the dark. We're not doing that to you. After you finish work at the end of the day, you get to come home to a hot shower and you get to rest. You'll have meals and we'll have some guest support for you if you need to know, how do I rent a bike or how do I get to the beach? We'll give you some basic protective gear and training before things begin just to make sure that you're safe. And we'll give you a professional ebook, which is our monograph documenting the completed project. The weekends are yours to enjoy. So a 5-day work week and the weekends are for you and you can go experience some of these amazing regional attractions. There are many, many more, but these are just a few in the backyard. The Mayan ruins, the cenotes, the beach itself. I have biked to and from these sites. It is probably the most life-changing experiences that I've had. Love this area. Okay, the timeline. There's a lot on this slide. I don't expect y'all to read it, but it is important to note a couple of things. We are currently in the phase of schematic design, and we're currently getting ready to open up for registration. So that's where we are in May and June. So take note of those two things. In April, the on-site construction is going to begin. So when you sign up now, just know that about this time next year is when the first on-site modules begin. And we'll continue those through May, June, July, August. In September, we'll probably have a little bit of catch up. And then we're aiming to have substantial completion and opening day in January. And then we start our next build. And that's really important to keep in mind. Don't forget, this is not a one-off project. We have more builds coming. We have our sights on Mizunte, which is on the Pacific side of Mexico. We have our eyes on Portugal, our eyes on Spain, and thanks to some other friends, we're looking also at the Dominican Republic. Okay, so that's about it for me, except one last thing. Don't forget that the online session calendar is up and live. Our next presenter is going to be Miguel Vasquez, who's going to be talking about bamboo, but he could talk about a million other things. He is an earth building expert, and I owe a lot of what I know to him and his expertise. So that is open for registration. That will be June 18th. And it will be as engaging as you might imagine. If you have enjoyed any of the photos of the bamboo construction throughout this presentation, that is all thanks to Miguel. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Laurel to see if any questions have come in. And please don't be shy, ask your questions. Like I said, give us a little grace. We're new. We might not have every answer, but I hope to have enough answers to keep you engaged. So.
Yay. Thank you so much, Anjanette. That's a lot of information, but all super exciting. And I love seeing all the photos. We don't have, so I didn't see any questions in the chat, but I want to encourage folks to put your cameras on, jump in and ask any questions directly.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for going through that presentation, Angela. That was really cool to see. Me and actually another one of my coworkers are architectural designers in San Francisco. And we work at a firm that really advocates for sustainable design, and that's something that we really live by. And so it's exciting to hear that you guys are in the schematic design phase of this project, and I'm curious what involvement looks like in the schematic design phase, because, as designers, we would love to be involved in that as early as possible. We would definitely be interested in it, so would be curious to hear.
Yeah, I mean, as I said at the beginning of this, this is a collaboration, and I'd like to think that um, with the design, all opinions I think need to be heard because this is, while it's a small project, it's got a lot of moving parts and pieces. So I don't want to undermine the importance of having a multitude of opinions chime in. We are great in that we already have four licensed architects and an interior architect, myself, on the project, as well as a structural engineer. So we do have some coverage. However, I am open to suggestions, especially from somebody who is excited enough to join the call and and offer that. So let's talk offline to see what we can do to maybe have, I don't know, charrette sessions and um, take advantage of the fact that we are in the early stage. It's amazing how easy it is now to transfer files and to work together as a collaborative team on 3D structures. There's a lot we can do. So I will take you up on that, Aaron, and I appreciate what you guys are doing. Let's talk more about that.
Yeah, I think the charrettes are something that we have found to be super valuable in our experience, and especially in any sort of community-based design. I feel like there's a lot of productivity that comes out of that. So I think that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can organize a design charrette. I think that would be, I mean, obviously for regenerative design, that's a necessary step to do a proper design where you honor the process. You can't leave that out. So I would like to do that. We should be getting our topography information back soon, which would also help us with the placement of the water systems. So we've got people on the ground who are going to be helping with that feedback loop because we can't just place the building wherever we want. I've said before, it's an iterative process to do a conscientious build. So when we get that information back and when we speak to Rodrigo Laniado, he's with Hombres de Maíz. I'm not sure if anybody has heard of him. He's pretty world renowned for his work. He's going to be helping us with the water systems. So together, that'll be an incredible crew. And let's have a design charrette and see where we can go.
Awesome. I just wanted to jump in as well and say thanks so much, Anjanette. Wonderful presentation. I'm super excited to be here, and especially after chatting with you last month about this, and just wanted to echo kind of what Aaron said. I think some charrettes would be amazing. I personally would also love to be a part of those. And right now I'm working at just a small residential firm out here in Twist, but also have done some ramped earth construction in the commercial space a little bit. So would love to share some of that and also just learn so much about everything else that is going to happen with this amazing project. So I was also curious if you could share any information that you might have, like about pricing or how that might work, or if you're not there yet, that's okay.
No, I was prepared for the pricing question. Don't worry. I intentionally didn't put pricing up on the web or on the screen and on the website because it's going to change. So it would be irresponsible of me to put something up now because depending upon how many um, gift donations, depending on how many in-kind donations, the price is going to fluctuate a little bit. However, my goal is to make the pricing competitive with any kind of other, retreat adventure that you would go to in the Tulum area for a week that would have the same accommodations and everything else given. So right now, and I know this is being recorded, so it's a little bit dangerous, but it's probably going to range from 2,500 to 3,000 for the full week. And that again is all inclusive. Now, my goal is that price comes down, but I think that that's a comfortable sort of suggested price at the moment for a week. If you do more weeks, that price will end up coming down overall. It's like bulk pricing. If you ended up doing 4 weeks, you're obviously going to get a lot more bang for your buck. You would not be able to afford that if you looked at pricing to stay in a hotel area in Tulum. I mean, the pricing is
Mm-mm.
crazy. So if you are looking for a modest, one-off little structure to spend a week in Tulum, this would be competitive to that as it stands. We would also like to offer some pricing that's a little bit different for our locals and for people who want to be part of the apprenticeship program. I didn't mention that a lot throughout, but um, for anywhere that we build in the world, whether it ends up being Spain or the DR or wherever, we're going to have an apprenticeship type of program to support the local economy. So the pricing for locals will be different. So keep your eyes on that, and we'll develop that as we go. Good good question. Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much.
Emily had a question in the chat as well. Are the construction modules open to anyone or specifically architects and designers?
Oh, that's a great question. They're open to anyone. So the things that I have to preface with as far as building on site, be aware that this is Mexico. It is in a region that's incredibly hot and very humid, and the months that we're going to be building, it might pour down rain one day, and we'll be working in a job site that's full of rain. The only conditions that I would have is know yourself, know your physical capabilities, and you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have a huge background. We would love to welcome people who do, but if we're going to foster learning on all levels, we need people who are novices, who have never done this before. I never did anything before. I'm certainly not an expert now, but that shouldn't shy you away from joining. We'll have more information in an information packet that will help you warm up to what you think are, cautionary parameters, but we welcome everyone to this. We're not going to move the needle if we don't. I would also like to throw in here that not every participant has to hold a hammer or lift a rock. We are looking for every make and model of participant. If you are a documentary videographer, if you've got a drone and you want to help us with the drone footage to document the site, we need all of that. If you're great at social media, we need that as well. So we would invite opportunities for people to come, and you don't have to be, hoisting limestone. You can do other things. So keep that in mind, please.
Thank you. That was perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. I don't know, maybe that's it. We've answered everyone's questions.
No, I have a question.
Sure, Henry.
In the general area, what sort of construction cost? Right, if you're building a dwelling, so what would a comparable sort of size dwelling, what's that going to cost somebody down there as opposed
Yeah.
to what you're expected to do? Like, are you going to be similar price? I think that's what you know, saying you're going to be sort of similar price is the goal.
Mm.
But just trying to understand what the total values are from a sort of commercial standpoint.
Okay, that's a good question, and I'm not going to answer it probably to your satisfaction. So the thing is, first of all, building and construction in this region will the business as usual model would be less expensive than what we are going to build, and that is a gut reaction. I don't have numbers to prove it. That is a gut reaction, and I'll tell you the reason why. 80% of the builds in the area are self-built. It is not a model that we are accustomed to in the United States. Most of the builds, residential builds, are self-built. These are people who work with their family and their own two hands. They build the structure. So there's no way that we are going to compete with that. For buildings that are built in a, let's say, business as usual, conventional way, they very often are not paying a living wage to the labor. So again, I don't have numbers to corroborate that, but the wage for the workers is extremely low. I am not going to do that. I have told my instructors and I've told my team that we are going to give a living wage that's comparable to United States living wage because we are a US project, we're a US based firm. We are not going to do that. So we are going to have to pay those prices for the labor. The other is that when you're doing a bio-based build and you're not using plastics and off-the-shelf products that you can get from a Chadurai or from a Home Depot, the problem with that is the materials are not expensive, but the labor is expensive. That is why all of you are being invited down to help offset that price in a learning intensive environment. So the I guess the when you look at the triple bottom line of this is at the end of this, we will be rich and wealthy with a team of expert builders who can replicate this and hence keep costs down for the next build. But we're going to have to put those upfront costs into this project. It will offset what would be, I guess, a business as usual model. I can't give you the numbers, but that is something I want to do at the end of this with the data collection piece, is I want to show those numbers so that we can be transparent for other people who want to build this way. So Henry, I said it probably wouldn't satisfy you that answer, but that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I mean that's sort of assumed. I guess that so. What I was more interested in is so if someone's coming down there, it's a tourist area, so you have international organizations coming down there. They buy property, they build something, right? So whether that's somebody coming down building an Airbnb type situation, which sounds what you're doing seems more comparable to that than say a hotel. I was just
Right.
trying to understand like international organization, a US based, Europe, whatever, they come down, purchase property, or build. Is there a rough price range of what they would be expecting this? And I realize the labor is a completely different situation than you're going to find in Europe or the United States.
Yeah. And there's people on this call who could probably address the pricing issue a little bit more accurately than me with their build and job site experiences. But I will say, international companies come down, they've gobbled up the property in Tulum like crazy, and they
Sure.
build as cheaply as they can. And this is why you get ghost plumbing pipes that are putting human waste into the cenotes.
That is the empire model. So
Yep.
we all live in a giant empire, so we're all dealing with it, right?
Yeah,
That's what we're trying to break out of regenerative design and building.
exactly. Yeah, so let's it's time for us to break that model. And even though it might cost us a little bit more, I'm not expecting it to be a lot more because again, our materials are going to be coming from site. We're going to excavate the limestone and use it on site. It's not the materials that are going to cost a lot. It's the model that we're doing right now is going to be a slow and intentional pace. Developers try to come in, build fast and furious, and get out as
Get
fast
out.
as they can. Like we're not doing that. So
Yeah.
we're doing things a little bit differently. And yeah, at the end of this, come January 2028, let's have some numbers to look at.
So, sounds great. Accolades for your effort here. I'm an architect builder, so would love to be involved in whatever
Great.
capacity possible. Just even just getting involved in your charrette just to kind of understand things. So again,
Fabulous. Great.
congratulations and hoping for great success for you.
Thanks. I appreciate that a lot. Seems like the charrette is a popular topic, so we got to figure out how to do an online charrette with people spread around the world. I know there's different platforms that you can do that on, some of them more successful than others, but yeah, let's explore that in the coming weeks and see if we can't make that happen. I wish we could all be in the room together and do that, but yeah, we'll work with the tools that we have.
Absolutely.
Well, we've only got about 6 minutes left of the call. I would like to take the time to again repeat myself. Please sign up for the online sessions as they become available. Miguel, it will be June 18th. Eddie, I know your name right now says Santiago, but if you can wave, Eddie is going to be giving the July session. Eddie is a rammed earth expert, as is his colleague Santiago from Hecho en Tierra. Eddie is just working on a couple of projects currently in the Mazunte area around Earth, so it's going to be really exciting to hear them speak. And visit the website, noodle around on it. Let me know if there's anything missing. I'm doing all of this all on my own with the help of a team, but I'm sure there's some things that I probably could do better. I'm open to your feedback.
Thank you so much, Anjanette. Can everyone hear me? I wanted to jump in quickly.
Sure,
Hear
yeah.
me well? Perfect. Yeah, I guess just echoing exactly what you said and Henry's question, definitely I would join the next call. Miguel is an expert in that area. I'm sure he's the person that can give a better, no price range, but I think that's one of the biggest values in this effort that Engine is leading. We're super grateful as part of Hecho en Tierra to be part of. We will be sharing, these real projects, these real experiences, including costs. No, so Hecho en Tierra, us, we're on the other side of Mexico on the Pacific coast. Oaxaca, Puerto Escondido is the next boom in development, but also
I think we lost you, Eddie. We lost your feed. This happens with the Wi-Fi issues that are in Puerto, so if I know anything. But I think Eddie is in Mexico City right now in his entrepreneur lab. But yeah, Eddie's going to be a great addition to the team to talk about his experiences. There are a couple of questions about where to sign up for the links. Yes, on the website, if you travel to projects, underneath there's the online sessions. You can click on the registration for Miguel's, which is live. Eddie's will be coming up soon. And then Ashley, if not mistaken, it will be our next in August. So that's sort of the next 4 months before you. And with that, maybe we'll give everybody 3 minutes of their day left. I want to thank everybody again for joining. Look forward to seeing your faces on the next session. It'll be less about the nuts and bolts and more about inspiring materials, which I think is probably what everybody's really actually excited for. And hopefully, as we do design charrettes, perhaps we will do another online session to present the findings as the building sort of takes more shape. So that's something to look forward to. Meanwhile, again, just want to say thanks to everybody. Please, share this with your network. The more people who are sort of invited to the party, the better. We need everybody's sort of eyes and ears on this project as we move forward. We'll keep our fingers crossed that it stays on time and on track. We would just love to have more input. So again, thanks everybody for spending time on your Friday with me.
Thank you.
Thank you both
Bye.
and everyone.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.